You're listening to I Love It When, and I'm your host, Mo. I'm a speaker, coach, and connector. You're in the right place if you're looking for some inspiration and you're ready to truly embrace who you are. My intention with this podcast is to help you see that you are so much more powerful than you realize. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I'm your host, Mo, and today it's just me. This is part 2 to the last Solo with Mo episode called Bathroom Manifestations. And this episode will air, it'll be the second episode to air in May. And right now it's April 16th. It's a Tuesday. It's been quite an interesting couple of weeks. I'm excited to talk more about the second part of my presentation. I explained in the last episode, if you haven't heard it, I had just finished a keynote that I did for an event called Radiance in Edmonds, Washington. It was organized and created by Lacey Gwyther. And it was a fantastic opportunity for me to create a new keynote and put together a lot of similar content, but adding more and more of myself to the mix. And I basically shared with the group 5 aspects or 5, I don't even like to think of them like steps, but 5 things that I have examined that have helped me in my journey to find even more peace and fulfillment in my life. And so in that last episode, I shared the first 2 steps or 2 aspects, which were to decide. Like a big part of this is deciding that you want something in your life to be different. And then the second piece was environment and how important it is to think about and look at who do you surround yourself with and what do you surround yourself with, like actual objects and things in your home, and what do you have around you. And so today we're going to go through the last 3 parts, which are self-awareness, tools for change, and then integration and embodiment. So I wanted to start off though today just sharing a little bit about me. So you'll notice if you're watching this on YouTube that I'm coming at you. You're looking at my desk back there. I'm coming at you from a different direction. So last week was the big solar eclipse that everybody was talking about on Monday. And my laptop decided to just completely conk out on me the night before. Just went completely black in the screen. Wasn't going to wake up for nothing. And so that was definitely part of my week last week was my desktop went kaput last year. And so I've been working mostly off my laptop for the last 12 months. And it has been fascinating to actually look back at the year and see how little time I spend in my office now. And so I think one of the benefits to no longer being able to have my desktop was that I spent the majority of my time outside of my office. I might have been working at a coffee shop or working in the living room or things like that, but overall I worked far less because it wasn't as easy for me to just sit down and have a big screen to play with. I'm used to working on a big screen or having multiple screens. Having been an admin for so long, it was really important for me to have a couple of screens so that I could easily navigate between tabs and things like that. Well, yeah, it all has changed so much. So not having uh, a laptop or a desktop last week, I was able to use my partner Tom's um, desktop and everything, of course, but it's much different, when it's not yours and it's just, I don't know, it's different. So it's been an interesting week to kind of take a step back and look at how I'm spending my time again, even more, get even further in depth around that. So that was an interesting thing to note last week. And then with everything going on astrologically, I am learning more and more about astrology and trying to pay attention to how different things affect me throughout the week, month, year. Uh, for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know that I was doing some new moon manifestation classes for a little while with Kristen Wise of Wise Holistic Healing. And the new moon and the full moon happen every month. And that was when I really started to notice how the moon affected my body. A lot of cultures are operate according to the earth and the cycle and all of that. And the moon in particular, affects the water, affects the ocean and the water and the pull of the water and the tides. And our bodies are made up of 75% water. So it would make sense that the moon and the tracking of the moon would affect the water in our body and thus affect possibly our emotions or our thoughts and our actions. So that's what has led me to learn more and more about astrology. So there's a lot going on right now, and I feel it 100% in the energy around me these last 7 days. So if you have any interest in learning more about that, I encourage you to reach out to me and I can connect you with people. If you're looking for someone to read your birth chart, I always highly recommend Crystal Novak, who was on my podcast, and her company is called Open Heart Path LLC. So you can go to her website and check her out and book an appointment with her through there. And then also Jasmine Rambeau, hopefully I pronounced that right. I've shared about her before as well. You can find her on Instagram, and she's got a website, Astrology Speaks. And she's an awesome option as well for a birth chart reading and to learn more about that. Because the more you learn and the more informed you get, the better you can flow. So that's a big part of what I'm going to share today on these last 3 steps or aspects of uh, learning about myself. So my keynote was called I Love It When A Walk with Mo. And I named it that because I go on a walk nearly every day. If I miss a day, it's pretty rare these days because I need to get outside and touch the earth in some way, shape, or form to discharge this energy that I carry around or that I pick up from different things like the computer, from working with different people. We gather energy in all sorts of ways. And one of the best ways to get rid of that extra energy is to touch the earth or touch a tree, get outside and touch something that is connected to the earth. It's called grounding. And essentially, the earth is made up of more, I think it's negative ions. I might not talk about this correctly. I'm still learning how to talk about it. And then we collect a lot of extra positive ions or energy. And so when we touch the earth, we can discharge a lot of this excess energy, which often causes, by the way, inflammation. It can disrupt your sleep. It can cause you to be extra tired. It affects the health of our body. So if you're ever feeling kind of funky and you don't know what to do, go outside, put your feet in the dirt, and just do it for 15, 20 minutes a day, and I guarantee you'll feel a change. So, going on a walk with me is not like your average walk, is what I've been told. It's a lot about how I operate in my life. And I've learned so much from being extremely present in my life that I have learned how to cultivate this to a really high degree. And so, when I go on a walk, I'm noticing all sorts of things. I'm noticing bugs, birds, different wildlife that I might see. All sorts of things come to me when I go on a walk. And so that's kind of what I wanted to give as a feeling for this keynote was I wanted people to go on a walk with me just to see what it's like, see what they find, see what they discover. That's kind of how I choose to walk through my day is what am I going to discover today? What can I get curious about? So the third step is self-awareness. Now, I'll see if I can share this chart with you here on the podcast. Our conscious mind is made up of only about 5%. Our subconscious, the subconscious part of our brain, runs 95% of our day. Subconscious means like the part that you're not even consciously thinking of. It just runs automatically. The subconscious and unconscious mind deals with our beliefs, our long-term memory, our protective reactions, our imagination. It controls all of our systems in the body, walking, moving our hands, things we do without even thinking about it, programming, emotions, values, fears, intuition, and self-image. Our conscious brain, the conscious part of our brain, is our logical thinking, our willpower, short-term memory, and critical thinking. So those are the things we're using that are like right at the front of our brain. So if you think about it, if you want to change a habit or change something that you do automatically, you have to access your subconscious brain, the unconscious part. And some of the easiest ways to do that, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, are meditation, breath work, different things that help you to go beyond that conscious part of your brain and get to that subconscious so you can actually rewire things. So I love talking about this. So in this part of the presentation, I talked a little bit about how can you build on this awareness? And listening to your body is one of those things. So starting to take note of what you feel in your body, getting into your body is super, super important. Your body is talking to you all day long. Your body is sending you signals. It's saying, hey, I need some water. Hey, I need to eat something. Hey, this hurts right now. And what I've learned is that different parts of your body can communicate different emotions to you. And it's like it helps you detect things that are going on with you emotionally. So, one example I like to give is I was dating a guy who I really needed to break up with. And we had been dating for probably 3 years. And I started having these stomach pains in the middle of the night, and it would wake me up. It was like a burning pain in my lower abdomen. And the only thing that would help is ibuprofen. And it happened probably 4 or 5 nights a week for at least a year before I started to look into it. And I was just like, okay, I can't keep letting this happen. This is weird. I went to the doctor and I went to a naturopath and I explored all the things. I got my blood tested for allergies to see if it was something I was eating. Uh, I actually ended up getting a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. And it was a good thing that I got the colonoscopy because it did end up that I had some polyps, and it's something that I need to go back and do, unfortunately, every 3 years right now. But having those polyps removed did not affect the pain, it didn't go away. I thought maybe it was an ulcer, but when you take ibuprofen, it shouldn't impact it. Like, usually when you take ibuprofen, it makes it worse. And it always, like, it made the pain go away, and it didn't seem to get, like, the pain wasn't getting worse. It was just the same. And so we determined that it was not an ulcer. And it was a good thing that I got my blood work done because it was good to learn like what I was allergic to. That's when I first learned that I might want to stop eating dairy and gluten and different kinds of fruits. But it was probably 6 months later when I was on a trip on the East Coast and I had a session with a psychic, actually. It's probably the second psychic I'd ever spoken to. This was back in like 2017. And during my session with her, she had me do a meditation where I cut energetic cords. And if you haven't heard of that before, you can Google it, learn a little bit more about it. But I cut cords with this person because I really wanted to. We weren't officially dating anymore. We just hadn't stopped seeing each other. And so I cut cords with him during that session. And then when I got back home, I officially broke up with him and said, hey, I can't speak to you for at least 6 months. I need space and time to heal and see what's going on. And within 2 weeks of doing that, of stopping talking to him, my stomach pain was gone. It was completely gone. And after the first week, I thought, well, maybe it's just, random that it's connected, but nope, second week, third week, fourth week, still gone, hadn't come back. And so I recognized that that was truly my soul trying to talk to me and say, hey, you're out of alignment. You should not be spending time around this person. What are you doing? Change, do something different. And so that's just one example of how my body has over the years talked to me and sent me messages. So your body, through all sorts of different ways, inflammation, things that come up, headaches, all of it is a message to pay attention. And so one of the biggest things you can do is meditate. You can do walking meditations, but pause and listen to yourself and ask yourself, where is this coming from? And see what comes up for you and begin to notice patterns. One other thing that I like to do to help people build self awareness is have them track their level of presence for 1 week. So, Anise Kavanaugh is someone that I've talked about pretty often on the podcast. She's written 2 books that I love, Contagious Culture and Contagious You. And in Contagious You, it's really focused on you a lot. And she has all sorts of different assessments and things you can do to get to know yourself better and to help your self awareness grow. I will often have people do this before a workshop with me, where for like the 3 days leading up to it, at the end of each day, on just a little post-it note or wherever you want, you just track who you were with and how present you were with them during the day. So let's say in the morning you had your kids or your partner and you were at breakfast with them. Let's say you were like 50% present. The other part of your brain was thinking about the day and getting started already. And then during the day, you're with your colleagues, or maybe you have time to yourself. and you track, okay, how present was I with my colleagues, or how present was I with myself? And so you review that every day, and you think about it, and you start to pay attention to how much in the moment are you. And a big part of this is helping people to recognize that when you're on autopilot, a lot of time you spend thinking about the past, where you can feel a lot of resentment, or you might future trip, which presents oftentimes a lot of anxiety. And where we really should be focusing or need to focus on is just being in this moment here, right here and now. So that tracking of your presence is a huge one that I love to do. I love to see what people come up with and how they change things after tracking themselves for a week. The other thing I like to do is Anise Kavanaugh in her Contagious You book has something called the Immunity Kryptonite List. And I think if you Google it, there's probably something that'll come up. Um, she has a list of all these different things that she has researched that affect your energy levels and affect the strength of your energy. And it's things like being drawn into gossip, watching bad TV, things that don't make you feel good, things that stress you out. She has this whole long list. And so you can go through the list and just circle the ones that you are struggling with right now. And it brings you to a new level of awareness around how's my time being used? I say I'm stressed and that I'm too busy, but am I really too busy? Or am I just spending my time on things that I don't really want to spend my time on, actually? And the last thing I'll say about this that I think is one of the biggest pieces to self awareness for me that I've learned over the last 5 years is that my cup should overflow. So Oprah is the one who first said that I heard that, we talk about our cup being full and filling our cups with self love, whether that be making sure we eat every day, enough of the right foods, getting our walk, whatever we need to feel uh, good about ourselves and to love on ourselves. But Oprah said, your cup should actually be overflowing. It's the overflow that you give away. You don't give away what's in your cup. And when I heard that, something clicked for me, and I thought differently about it for the first time. And I thought, oh, you mean I should be feeling like so delicious that I have this extra to give away. Not like just barely enough where my cup is just full, but like, no, I'm like, in my mind, I think I'm getting a massage every week because that would be my ideal. I'm going on walks every single day, maybe taking a yoga class, and I'm oozing this delicious, fulfilled, peaceful feeling. So much so that I have extra to give away. And so I like to remind people of that because we are so hard on ourselves and it's so ingrained in us, especially in Western culture, to run on empty and to tolerate it until our bodies are so sick we can't help but pay attention to it. And my goal has now been to catch myself before I get there, before I get to this place where I'm just tolerating this level of pain. I want to move away from this idea that pain is a motivator. I don't want to be motivated by pain. I don't want to wait till it gets so bad that I'm forced to go to the hospital. Mm-mm. No, I want to have the discipline to be able to take care of myself before that. Hey, I'm popping in for a moment to let you know that if you're interested in working with me one on one in a small group, or you'd like to attend one of my upcoming retreats, please reach out or add yourself to my email list. You can go to iloveitwhen.org and scroll to the bottom where you'll see there's a spot to sign up. I also love to speak, teach, and create experiences for small, medium, or large size companies. If you know someone that I should know, please connect us. I'm looking to utilize I Love It When to create global change, and that will require collaborating with all of you. You're all so much more powerful than you realize. Remind yourself of that today. In the next part of our walk, we go into tools for change. Now, the reason I talk about your environment and self-awareness is because until we address what I consider to be like the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the triangle where on the bottom you see your actual physical, psychological needs. So, like, do you have shelter? Do you have a place to sleep at night? Do you have food? Until we take care of those things, there's actually no way that we can get ourselves or people that we know to a place where they can even consider change like this. We have to take care of these base needs first. So that's why I talk about environment and self-awareness first and foremost. we can talk about tools for change if we want to, but it's going to be very difficult for people to implement those tools without the bottom of the triangle being taken care of first. So tools for change. I mentioned 8 of my top favorite tools that have had a massive impact on my life. The first one is setting intentions, meaning as simple as if you're going to dinner with a friend, you can set an intention for that dinner. For this dinner, I intend to go in with an open and vulnerable heart. Period. The end. Intentions are everything. And it sounded so silly when I first thought about this and heard about it, but I started to play with it. And that's kind of how I approach things is I'm like, let me just play with this and see what happens. I started to set intentions for people when they came to my retreats. And I always write people a letter before they come and I give it to them when they get to the retreat location. And I don't know, like I usually know a little bit about what they want to accomplish, but I don't necessarily know that when I write the letter. And so I just go with what comes to me intuitively. And I set an intention for them, and it might be to heal their inner child, to work with some aspect of their inner child, or perhaps it's to uh, be open to exploring new ways of thinking about their career. Whatever it might be, I set an intention for them. And I've recognized that when I do this, in some way, shape, or form, that intention takes place in a way that I would not have expected. And what this also allows us to do is it allows us to recognize the power that we have. When you set an intention and you go into a meeting or you even go into an hour by yourself, you give the energy a direction. You tell it where to go. And that is very powerful. There's like, it's a difference between like, imagine if I had no intention, I'm just like floundering around. I have no exact path of where I want to go. Like, even if I don't know where to go, I just pick a direction because that intention, it's like all of a sudden a road appears and the energy knows where to go. So when you don't know what to do or what step to take next, set an intention and watch what appears. It's amazing. And one way that you can do that is by using I love it when as a phrase to get you started. So I love it when miracles occur every day. I love it when I have an amazing time with my family at dinner where everyone is open and communicates well. So you can use I love it when in that way. The second tool for change that I mentioned is meditation. And I love using an Insight Timer. It's a free app on my phone, and I meditate every day, sometimes twice a day. And the thing that got me to meditate was a book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, because in it, he has you do a bunch of different things for 40 days, a bunch of new habits, and they're called the savers. And it's like silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. And so this was what got me to start meditation. And after those, about the 21st, 22nd day, I recognized a feeling in my body that felt like I had just been laying on the beach in Hawaii. It was a new level of relaxation that I hadn't felt before like this because of meditation. And so I started to read up on the science behind meditation. And when I read that meditation can help you regrow parts of your brain, I was like, okay, I'm sold. I got to try this. I got to try this for an extended period of time and see what happens. And meditation has completely changed my life. So I highly recommend it, especially if you're a skeptic. If you just do it for 2 to 3 minutes a day and do it for the next 40 days, let me know what happens. All right, third tool for change, voice affirmations. One of the things I like to have clients do is write down a list of affirmations using I am and you are statements. So, like, I am beautiful, you are intelligent, you are creative, you are a fabulous entrepreneur, you are a leader, I am financially abundant. So, write down as many affirmations as you can that take you about 2.5, 3 minutes to read. And then I want you to record them on your phone in your own voice and listen to them every day for the next 3 months, let's say, and see what happens. So your brain, when it hears your voice giving those affirmations rather than someone else's, it recognizes it in a different way and you start to rewire your brain. That repetitive behavior, that doing that repetition on a daily basis, that is the kind of habit you can build that will actually change the way your brain thinks. So I highly recommend that. The fourth tip or tool for change is breath work. If you've never done breath work before, it is very powerful. I've had 3 or 4 sessions in a group setting, and uh, it's kind of it's similar to meditation, is that it works in the most beautiful way. The breath and the way we use our breath, oftentimes people don't realize that they're not even deeply breathing throughout the day. You're just very shallow breathing. And shallow breathing is kind of what our body recognizes as survival. And so when you do deep breathing and then when you intentionally move breath through your body, you can help emotions and energy that are stuck, you can help move them through your body and it can release all sorts of things. So if you've never tried it before, I highly recommend looking up a local breathwork class and doing it, going and doing it in person. It is a game changer. The next one is EFT tapping, emotional freedom tapping. I always tell people I'm not a practitioner, but one day I will be. It's tapping on different meridian points on your body, and this is another great thing to do if you're feeling anxious in the moment. Um, Doing some breath work or some EFT tapping can help calm your body down. And this is another way that you can change and rewire your brain. You're tapping on different points, and you're tapping about. Oftentimes, people will develop scripts for you. So, like if you work directly with an EFT practitioner, they can develop a script according to whatever it is that you're working on. So, if you want a more abundant mindset, then they can help you create a script around that. But if you're on YouTube, just Google it on YouTube and you can see. In the moment, oftentimes, if I'm feeling anxious, is when I'll do it. And so you start by tapping. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see I'm tapping on my left side of my hand on the very edge there. You just start by tapping on your hand and you say, even though I'm feeling anxious, frustrated, resentful, and angry, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And I know that I am safe. So I'm addressing whatever it is that I'm feeling. I'm just naming out all the emotions. And then that second part of the script, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, and I know that I'm safe. You can change certain parts of that, but that's the script basically that I use that I found from someone online. And then you tap from the side of your hand to the top of your head, to the part between your eyebrows, to the side of your eyes, underneath your eyes, underneath your nose, underneath your mouth, under collarbone. Oh, it feels good even now doing it. Underneath your armpit, and then back to your hand. And you go through as many times as you need to. And the idea is at the beginning of it, you kind of get a gauge on how much anxiety am I feeling. Let's say I'm feeling like an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being extreme anxiety. You want to get that down to like a 2 to a 3, ideally. I'd go like 1 to a 2, really. So you go through that as many rounds as you need until you feel your body has gone down to a 2 or 3. So Google that. I highly recommend checking it out. Another tool for change, reading. So I've mentioned already reading a couple of different times. When we read a book, I once heard this statistic, and I don't know how they got this, but it's like you download a number of years worth of research into your brain when you read a book. Like someone else has gone through all the trouble of researching, putting together that book and the science of it, and you get to read it and download that information into your brain at a much faster rate. You can make all sorts of leaps with reading. Learning, knowledge, all of that is just fantastic. So, one of the books that I always recommend that people start with is Fierce Conversations. It's one of my favorite books, changed my life, and it gave me a tool with which to help me speak my truth. So, I love that book and I always will mention it. The seventh one is energy work. So, I've talked a little bit about that on my podcast in different ways with different people who do energy healing. I'm also an energy healer. I highly recommend looking into it, finding out more about it if it piques your curiosity. And the last tool for change is finding a mentor or a coach. You got to follow your intuition on this one because ultimately you are your own best healer. You know everything you need to know on the inside. You just need to unlock it. But having someone to help you navigate that and ask you the right questions can be a tremendous help. I always tell people I don't expect you to coach with me forever. My goal is that you eventually, like whenever you feel ready, you're not coaching with me. Uh, I love it when I can help someone realize their power. And so mentors and coaches that I've had over the years have been a tremendous help to me. And I kind of see it like part of my job as a coach is to help you skip over the mistakes that I made. So, like all the mistakes that I've made and all the different things that I've learned, you have the benefit of tapping into that, asking me questions about it. I can share things with you. That's kind of the benefit of having a mentor and a coach is getting somewhere faster with help, with guidance. The last piece I want to talk about today is integration and embodiment. So, I wanted to make sure to talk about this because one of the things I've noticed the more that I have gotten to know the healing community, healers are people who do energy work, do breath work, do all sorts of things to help people realize their power and heal from all sorts of things. And so that's what I'm talking about when I reference healers. I've noticed that, as humans, we can learn all the tools. Like I mentioned earlier, we can learn all the tools. And it's one thing to learn them, but it's another thing to actually use the tools in real life. And sometimes we can get so stuck on the learning aspect that we forget to actually embody the work and do the work. And that happens when we're in hard conversations with friends or family, when there's a time when we need to speak up for ourselves and we don't. That's where the real work happens. And so it's one thing to talk about the work, it's another to do the work. And that's what this piece is all about. And it can definitely be uncomfortable. And that does not mean that it's a bad thing. So discomfort is not a bad thing, it's just new and unfamiliar. That's all. So you can remind yourself of that. Lean in, lean into that discomfort and get curious about it. The other cool part about integration and embodiment is that when you speak your truth and you say the thing, something beautiful happens for the other person as well. So, one of the things that I've recognized is that when I speak my truth, or I speak up and I say something, or somebody says something and I disagree with it, part of what I've recognized, especially not so much when somebody says something and I disagree with it, but when I say something that I feel prompted to say that might be uncomfortable, that might be an uncomfortable question for someone, uh, when I say that thing with kindness and compassion, if the person responds to it well, meaning like they respond, they don't react, oftentimes they tell me it was something that they needed to hear. And that has been shocking to me because I think for so long I was caught up in how it made me feel. Like I felt so deeply uncomfortable. And so I always I worried that I would hurt someone's feelings. And when I started to interact with people who were actually able to respond to me and not react, and they would tell me that it was something they needed to hear, it would blow my mind. And so this has happened countless times with my partner, Tom. And he's really helped me to understand that perhaps in the past, I was working with or interacting with people who were not in a place to where they could respond. All they could do is react. And so it's amazing, let me tell you. And when I say speak your truth, I don't mean just say just anything that comes to your brain, but when you have something that you feel led to say and you can say it with love and compassion, say it. And then when you align with your highest self, when you align with your soul and what your soul really wants, you glow. So all this integration and embodiment gets you to a place where you are in line and you are glowing. And when you glow, you magnetize and attract other opportunities to yourself. It's just energetic. It's how it happens. So if you've been listening to this last episode and this episode, talking all about these different parts, these 5 steps, I would love to know if there are any action steps that you're going to take from listening to this. I would love to hear about them. You can leave them in the comments on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you listen to this podcast. I pay attention to all those comments and I really appreciate them. I love the interaction. I love hearing from people who are listening. So please reach out and let me know what resonated with you from these 5 steps of deciding your environment, self-awareness, tools for change, integration, and embodiment. The last thing I want to do today is I want to pull a card. The last time I did this episode, I pulled a card for May, and it was the Harmony and Resolution card. So I was looking at that episode again today before I got on here, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to pull another card and just see if anything else comes up for us for May out of curiosity. So, one moment while I shuffle. Okay, the card that came up was no. I love this. So you can see it just says no with an exclamation point. So let's see what the description says. And this is again from one of my favorite decks, the Angel Guide deck from Kyle Gray. If you're interested in it, or if you've been curious about Oracle decks, I highly recommend Kyle Gray. He's just got a fantastic, pure energy. All right, no. Your angels are drawing close at this time to help you recognize that the answer to this question on your mind is no. This is not the time to proceed. You may want to, but you are being encouraged to see beyond the current situation and understand that following through on your ideas may have a negative effect on the whole course of your life. Angels are swooping in because they want to save the day and save you a lot of heartache from a choice that is not heart centered. If you are feeling upset or annoyed by this guidance, that is okay. You are allowed to have an emotional response, but in truth, there will be a part of you that already knows that what you are considering isn't the best use of your energy. The extended messages: do not make plans, do not move forward, retreat and reflect. I just have to say, this is hilarious because this is definitely a message I've been getting in the last week. Think deeply, seek the advice of those you love and trust, and ask them to help you get to the bottom of the question or issue or decision that is before you. Do not make any sudden moves. This card is coming in to help you sustain your mental, emotional, and spiritual energy and stay on the road to wholeness. I love that. All right, so let me know if that resonates with you for May. The first one again was from the last episode was harmony and resolution. So you can go back to that episode and listen to the description. And then this other card for May is no. I would love to hear what you think this is referencing for you in terms of the no. No to what is it that you are doing or forcing that you need to stop? I would love to hear from you. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. And please always feel free to reach out if there are any particular topics that you'd like me to dive further into. Hope you have a fantastic day.